Getting underway. The step is getting underway, and we're starting off with map number 1, Bumpy Jumpy by Tona, a map that we've already presented quite a bit in the previous 2 steps. But yeah, we're also going to be looking at how some of these players fare. We also got Darkwix managing to make his very first appearance in the Grand League, in the Open Grand League Challenger match for the very first time. So not a bad going from Darkwix here. Meanwhile, the identity here, just a quick recap, consists of a series of jumps from using the bump roads. One for the right side, one to the left, and one to the right-hand side. You need around 300 kilometers an hour to clear them, perfectly, which means with the with all 4 wheels landing past the curve of the bump road from the corner, one towards the left-hand side, one to the right-hand side through trees, and then a final jump through the trees right here, which you need around 280 kilometers an hour from what I recall, to make it between the trees and the hill, and land on the other side to start across the start-finish line to start a brand new lap. And also another peculiarity is this section, which is a reactor boost wall ride, landing into a small Neo Snake section where you do have to make a pretty sharp turn and then a Neo slide to go through this CP right here. And if you have enough speed, you can get a little bit adventurous and go for a little bit of a dirt, a little bit of a gap jump on between the 2 dirt slopes. Then of course there's a free wheel snaking section right here where it is absolutely paramount to watch your exit, especially out of this final corner right here. If you ever so slightly graze the wall on the outside, you can get the you will drop a lot of momentum and will completely drop you down in last place. So Mata, the overall leader in the Grand League ranking, currently looking at a spot getting seed 1 at the end of this Grand League season. We're underway, boys. Step 6, Challenger match. And the step is now underway. We see another three Team Auto World drivers in the form of Dark, Default, and Challenge, the 3 regulars in this particular season in the Challenger match. The whole shot is going to be going to Mudda with a 14.778. Darkwix having a bit of a slow start, a bit weaker on pace maybe compared to the rest of the field, as is Bresso, although Carl touching a bit on the outside of the dirt will drop down in P16, the 2006 World Champion, not looking good. Dark having a minor mistake as well, so he will drop down in P15 before the Reactor Boost wall ride. Currently Mudda, Chelik with Binks and Hugo heading the field with Grenady in P5. The wheel player looking pretty sharp at the start, but he messed up this Neo Drift, so he will drop a lot of speed and Rozzy will overtake him, so he will be down in P9, P10, P9, as apparently Patrick has had a bit of an issue as well. Patrick, let's actually see where Patrick is. Oh, actually Patrick in a pretty brought in the battle with Wozil, Dark, and Link, although he dropped out quite a bit with Grenady down in P13 as well, so the 2 Germans not really representing their country well at the present moment, with the identity coming up for the leaders. Chalik having a slow down at the exit of the dirt, so Chalik will not be able to clear this identity nicely, and so he will fall down quite a bit. Meanwhile, Miquacho yeeting it through. Hugo trying to yeet it through, but did not make it. Super Caliph having made mistakes as well, so we got quite a few contenders out there, especially Hugo just in that top 8 spot, not looking good after that start. Currently sitting in P14 after Cap overtakes him at the ice part. Darkwix moving up into P12. Miquacho and Binks now in P1 and P2. At the moment, Binks might be in with a shot of pipping that said top 8 from Hugo de Salvain, moving to the Combine for the very first time. Yeah, Darkwix managed to make it. Rozzy also in P3, so it's going to be a battle between Binks and Rozzy at this moment in the very first map, as Grenady has made another mistake, so he's down in last place. He's currently looking like it's game over for the Team Wavy Esport driver. Dark and Binks, as apparently there was a mistake from who was it? It was Miquacho. Yeah, Miquacho down in P7, just behind Chalik. Chalik moving back up to P6. Link into P5, Default in P4, and Mata, currently our Grand League leader, remember, is down in P13 after the first 2 laps, so not a good start for Mata, although he might not need that much of a good step right now. He just needs to secure that step, get that step home and get himself into the top 8 to get himself the seed 1 that he needs. Dark takes the lead with a time of 1:12.915, the fastest up of the race. Rozzy in P2, Binks down to P3 at the present moment. So Rozzy currently in with a shot of potentially climbing back the deficit that he has to Binks and both Binks and Grenady, and challenge with Hugo de Salma for that top 8 spot. Hugo trying to climb back up the order, currently moving up into P9 with P8 at the present moment. I think he will still be, I do think that he will still be leader in P16, with P16. I think, well, maybe not leader, but he will surely be in the Combine. I think that's pretty much enacted at this point. But meanwhile, actually a battle for third place. Currently, remember, there's a battle opposing Link and Cap, who are just right behind one another. So currently, in the present standings, it is Link who has the advantage. Oh, Default having touched the outside wall at the exit of the free wheel. So he will drop down quite a bit. He was in P4, actually P3 last time around. So he will drop down to P6 and even P7 as drop down to P6 right now. Just behind Link, identity for the third time between Dark and Rozzy. Everything will be good. Yeah, 8k points for P16, so it seems as though everything looks good and under control for Moda. Halfway through the race, Dark and Rozzy in 1 and 2, Miquacho in P3, Link in P4, Default in P5, as we had a mistake from Chalik. Down, oh, Chalik is having quite the rocky time indeed, down in P14 with P15 for Grenady. Moda having made mistakes, apparently. He's down in last place at the present moment. Let's actually check in with the helicam to see how the gaps have widened. You can see that there's around 3 checkpoints of a difference between first and last, with the last place currently being Moda. At the present moment with Dark and Rozzy, you can see them hurtling towards the dirt part. Both of them staying within half a second of each other. Yeah, Bits played last week indeed. So yeah, Bits did not manage to make it to the challenger match this time around, but I think it might have been a fluke. It must be said. He himself did not believe it last week when he actually reached challenger status. Meanwhile, Hugo de Salva, after that first lap, which was pretty chaotic at the identity, the MTP Sport driver, currently sitting in P8, is climbing back to within contention of that set top 8 spot. He's got one of his fellow contenders ahead of him, that it being Binks in P6, with 3/10 of a gap between separating these two, with Rozzy currently sitting in P2, albeit 2 seconds down on Dark. He might have made a mistake compared to Dark, and he's allowing the Team Autoworld driver to sail away in the lead of this race in the penultimate lap with a time of 1:12.993 on this 4th lap. Rozzy down in P2. Then we got Miquacho in P3, 3 seconds down on the leader and 8/10 down on Rozzy, currently sitting in 2nd place. Then we got Default in 4th, Binks in 5th, Hugo in P6, going past someone who made a mistake. Then we got Link and Wuzel completing the top 8. Pretty massive gaps indeed on this very first map. You can see the gaps. You can pretty much see the entire map from the helicam perspective. Dark literally sailing away with the lead, as I said, pulling the gap to 2.6 seconds to Rozzy in this penultimate lap, with Miquacho just behind Rozzy, catching back up to the Croatian. As a matter of fact, the gaps did not evolve between Dark and Miquacho, but they are evolving between Rozzy and Miquacho in favor of the Finnish driver. Identity coming up for the penultimate time in this step and penultimate time in this season. In this regular season, at the very least. Top 2 and 3 managing to cross quite well. Final lap underway. Rozzy still in the lead, still leading Miquacho for the challenge for 2nd place by 2/10 of a second. Default in P4, a little bit too far behind to make any challenge. Binks down to P5. Hugo in P6. Link trying to threaten Hugo for that 6th place, and with much more speed at the outside of the ice rink, will move through to P6. Hugo in P7. Cap in P8. Sorry for the burps. Carl and Wozel P9 and P10. Mimo Jr. in P11. Grenady back up to P12. Darkwix in P13. Bresso in P14, Chalik in P15, and Moda in last place. Meanwhile, let's actually check back in on the battle for top 2 at the present moment, because it's hotting up. Miquacho overtaking Rozzy before the end of the dirt. Not quite. Not quite at the CP 100th in favor of Rozzy, but not for long as we're heading towards the freewheel part. Miquacho with much more speed, managing to keep it outside the wall. Look at the momentum that's been carried by the Finnish driver, and so he moves up into P2 with the identity left to run, where the Finnish driver was looking to be on pace more so than Rozzy. So Miquacho will be heading into P2, finish potentially. Dark, meanwhile, in the lead, managing to get through the final few jumps, and will win the map easily. Miquacho in P2 and Rozzy in P3. Dark with the fastest lap at 1:12.860. Default in P4, Binks in P5, Link in P6. Hugo de Soma has made a mistake at the identity, so he drops down to P9. Cap in P7, Carl in P8, Wozel P9, Mimo Jr. P10, Grenady 11, Darkwix P12. Hugo down to 13th at the end. Moda P14, Bresso P15, and Chalik will close the field out in last position. So, Dark takes the win in front of Raz. So 20 points for him. Miquacho 14 points. Razi 12 points. Default 10 points. But no, I said 20 points. It's 22 for Dark as he heads the fastest lap of the race. So the Grand Slam already for Dark, who takes the lead from 8 points from Miquacho in P2 as we're heading into map number 2, which is going to be Circles by Link. Circles by Link, map 2 of this map pack, which was introduced in step number 4 as the final map of the step. Identity, as we highlighted in the seeding phase, is comprising of this final section. First up, this dirt from this grass part, which is free will. You gotta duck low and dive towards the apex of those two corners, right? Of those two grass corners right here. Then small technical section before the identity itself. Use the bump road to jump into the first circle, and then time your release and your steering at the exact time to actually get a low transfer, as low of a transfer as you can towards the other side of this one, towards the other side of the jump and this quarter pipe. If you go a bit too early and steer a bit too early, you're gonna be a bit too low and hit head on towards the wall and be forced to respawn. Then as you cross the checkpoint, take this booster right here to get a bit of speed, a bit of a run up towards the second jump, and release to actually keep a line as low, just as low to actually get above those sides. Then make sure you land correctly on the other side and not scrub off too much speed by landing a little bit sideways from the corner and not fall off the side either. And getting as much speed as you can on the landing from that part is really important, because that momentum will be carried forward and into the freewheel part with one final corner coasting to the line to start another lap. As you can see, the current leaders right here going through the second transfer. Make sure to watch out for how your car is at the exit of that said jump. Get there as much speed as you can before the freewheel section and the final corner coasting to start another lap. Map 2 getting underway in 5 seconds. Dark leading the step after race 1 with 22 points. Miquacho 14 points for him in second place, and third place for Razi with P12. Remember, there's a huge battle brewing in the overall standings between Razi, Hugo de Sanva, Binks, and Grenady for the final spot in the Combine, and potentially even more than that, maybe 2 spots in the Combine at the end of this one. Mimo Jr. messing up the ice slide at the corner, so he'll be done in last place. Whole shot for Hugo de Sanva with a 5.431. Chalik and Binks in P2 and P3. Dark managing to get back up the running order. Mimo Jr. getting left behind quite a bit. 1 second between first and last at the present moment. Hugo and Binks battling between each other, with Link, Chalik, Default, and Dark staying group before the second ice part right now. Let's actually see from the perspective of the Helicam. Binks with much better speed at the exit of that said ice part will move through into the lead in front of the MTP Esport driver, with Moda and Chalik also overtaking Hugo de Sanva at the present moment. So Hugo down to P4 at the exit of that turnover. Oh, what's happened to Moda? He touched the inside of the checkpoint, and so he will not be... Will he be able to clear the wall right? Barely... No, he will not be able to clear it, unfortunately, and that small CP hit is going to be devastating. He managed to keep enough momentum to keep going, but yeah, that will be the end of him to score any big points for the Australian. Meanwhile, Binks and Dark, 1 and 2, heading into the identity right now with Hugo de Sanva in P3. And Carl, the 2006 World Champion, also coming back into contention into this identity. Binks, meanwhile, keeping the lead for himself. Miquacho also in there in the mix with the freewheel. Carl moving up into P2. Grenady in P2. Grenady P2 at the entry to the next lap. 117.271, the opening lap from Binks, currently sitting in the lead by half a second from Grenady in P2. Binks and Grenady, remember, those two are in contention for the final spot into the combine in the present moment. Link and Dark, 3rd and 4th, with Carl in 5th, but making short work of these two potentially into the platform parts. Not quite, well, I say not quite. Dark not having quite the speed. Grenady also falling back compared to Binks, so that will allow Carl to challenge for second position and make the move stick before the turnover right now. Keep your cars flat over the roof to get smooth transitions. Meanwhile, Binks still has a half a second gap to Carl in second position. Link joining in the mix and battle, threatening the 2006 World Champion for P2. Currently an XLT 1-2 with Binks and Link just behind him. Identity coming up in the second time. Meanwhile, in the battle for the top 8 overall, so Binks currently leading in front of Link, Carl in 3rd, Grenady currently sitting in P4. So the German driver not too shabby, trying to make up for a pretty trying to take up the slack after his pretty paltry map 1. Managing to stay in the battle for this top 2 positions at the moment. Link, the fastest man on track with a 114.819. at the present moment. Link currently sitting in P3, the map maker of this map, so Circles. Meanwhile, as I said, so battle for the top 8. Binks and Grenady, 1 and 2. You can see those two battling with each other right here. Then we got Hugo de Soma sitting in P6 at the moment, and then Razi down in P8, trying to challenge Dark for P7, and seeing the battle with Cap and Hugo just ahead of him into lap 3 as we're heading into the turnover right now. The full speed section, as I like to, the full speed section, even though it's not exactly that full speed. Using the reactor boost to keep your car sticking to the roof. Bing still in the lead in front of Grenady and Link. Identity coming up for the halfway part of the race. Link managing to get a much better grasp part than Grenady. Moving up into P2, albeit temporarily. Super Carlouf moving back up into the mix for the top 2 position. And now we're seeing a battle for the lead into the Identity, with Binks currently leading them, but just ahead of the top 2 fight between Grenady, Link, and Super Carlouf. And Binks, having had a pretty high landing through there, will carry that momentum forward and still manage to retake the lead after the start of lap 4. Cap, fastest man on the track, currently sitting in P5, half a second down on the leader. 1:14.796 for Cap at the present moment. The player from KWK Esport, winner of Step 1 in this season, looking to catch back up to the rest of the field and trying to put a challenge to Link, who he is currently in a battle with for 3rd place in the overall standings. Huge 4-way fight for P1, which could potentially become a 5-way fight. Meanwhile, apparently Binks has quite lost his edge. And meanwhile, Super Carlouf, the 2006 world champion, has taken the reins of this race in the present moment, with the full speed part negotiated nicely with the 2 Exalted drivers 2nd and 3rd right now, with Grenady down in P4th. Right now, this situation working in favor of Binks for that final spot in the combine, with Hugo down in P8 and Razi in P7 at the present moment. So he's the nice, out of the 4 that can make it into the combine, he's the one with the biggest shot on this map. Force crossing of the Identity. Oh, Carl messes up the transfer, managing to keep it on the road, but he will lose quite a bit of speed, and Binks will move through into 1st place, with Link up into 2nd place, and Grenady potentially back up into 3rd place at the exit of this particular coasting part. Grenady taking the lead and the entry to the penultimate lap, with Binks, Link, and Super Carlouf in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, with Cap in P5, Dark in P6, Razi and Hugo in P7 and P8. Actually, Mi Quattro also in the mix for P8 at the present moment. Tialik in 10th position with Hugo de Soma as well. Okay, it's actually moving quite a bit in the bottom in the bottom part of the top 8 as well. Even though we're not in the steps which incur points losses, this could still be really interesting to follow towards the end of the map, especially the battle between Tialik, Mi Quattro, and Hugo de Soma right now, which we're going to be specking a little bit right now. Currently, he holds the ticket. Currently, the man on screen, he holds the ticket for that top 8 spot, and Tialik touches the sign before the wall ride, so Tialik will be out of that fight, and that's going to be a straight fight between Mi Quattro and Hugo for that 8th position. Meanwhile, towards the leader side, we're heading towards the Identity, with Binks in the lead in front of Link and Grenady, with Carl in P4. Binks going a bit aggressive on that Identity. 1st transfer, then 2nd transfer right now. Binks going for the high drop. Same goes for Carl. Cap getting back into contention for that top 5. Meanwhile, up front, it's Binks who enters the final lap in the lead with the 1:14.643. Grenady in P2, Link in P3, going high in this particular part. Then we got Binks still in the lead with Grenady and Link. Then Cap in P4, overtaking Carl for P4. Dark in P6. Razi and Mi Quattro in the top 8. Mi Quattro being sent down out of the top 8 by Hugo de Soma, who tries to catch back up to Razi. Again, in the battle for that top 8 spot right now, it is Binks who currently has the advantage on this map. At the very least, Razi might have the most points out of the people in contention after map number 1, but it might not be the case. Moda getting the fastest lap of the race, battling with Darkworks for P15 with a 1:14.357. Meanwhile, behind the lead group, Razi and Hugo, maybe a battle brewing for that 7th place at the moment, with Mi Quattro a little bit further behind. Meanwhile, the top 4 guys remaining within a second. Cap getting overtaken by Carl for P4. Binks still leading Grenady by a few tenths as we're heading towards the free will part. It seems as though Binks might have this in the bag, or no, Grenady might have more speed. It's going to be to the line to the side. Grenady will win the map ahead of Binks by 0.03 of a second. Link in 3rd, Carl in 4th, Cap in P5. Dark in P6, Hugo 7th, Rozzy 8th, Miquacho finishing in P9, Wuzzle in P10, Mimo Jr. and Bresso in 11th and 12th, Default in P13, Telek in P14, Mutta will be finishing in P15 ahead of Darkwick, who will take last place. Mutta will get 4 points thanks to that 15th place finish and the fastest lap of the race, yielding him 2 extra points. Grenady gets 20 points on the board with 14 points for Binks and 12 for Link. And 2 races in, Dark finishes, is in the lead with 30 points, 24 points for Grenady, 23 for Binks in 2nd and 3rd place. As we're heading into the next stage, points loss will start to be incurred. This time, heading into this map and the next one, we're going to be having half points losses for people finishing in the bottom 8. And this map is going to be Dune by table for this map number 3. So we already saw what this map was about in the seeding phase. But for those of you who just came in from the Challenger cast, so pretty straightforward map overall, with one grass turn being one of the main standouts of the remainder of the map, with the identity being, of course, the main feature. So, dirt to dirt transfer jump, and then a series of dirt U-turns with reactor boost. Basically, the concept of it is to pitch the car at a bit of an angle when you actually exit that road, and hit the reactor boost at an angle and pitch your car at the right angle when you land on the dirt. Initiate a buck slide with the right inputs and try to keep that buck slide to keep a tight line through that U-turn and keep as much speed as you can. Make sure to watch out for your exit, to not release it a little bit too early or maybe a bit too late, to avoid falling towards your doom on the other side, forcing you to respawn in the middle of a buck slide. Or even worse, losing the buck slide halfway through the corner, which would mean that you will be hitting the back wall. And also be sure to actually watch your trajectory when you're actually gliding in the air, because if you ever so slightly graze, if you're going too far right, for example, on this one, and graze ever so slightly the hill on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, it will send your car into a flip, and that will be devastating. So you can see everyone getting a bit of practice in the identity right now. Hello, how hope you're doing well. And you can see Wuzzle having a bit of difficulty, Rozzy touching the wall at the final U-turn. And it's going to be really one of these key elements that can make or break a top 8 finish. So, we're getting underway right now for map number 3. We're getting halfway through the step right now after the end of this map. Map is underway. Everybody remaining group with Bresso dropping a bit behind. Cap getting the whole shot with a 10.838. And everybody remaining really grouped nicely so far. No big mistakes. I thought someone hit the wall there, but no, it was just my eyes playing tricks on me. As I head through the grass, Carl trying to make a breakaway here, trying to make a break for freedom, but not managing to make it. And so everybody remaining within contact of the leader at the present moment, as you can see from this Micro Machine perspective camera at the present moment, which I'm gonna have to tilt a little bit heading into this platform part. Hugo, Carl, Binks contending for the lead with Grenady also in there. Cap and Dark, Wuzzle as well. First respawn from Patrick, so that's game over for Patrick right now. We're gonna be heading towards the perspective of the leaders with Wuzzle from Team Game Ward. Binks, Carl, and Hugo battling for the top 3 with Dark and Wuzzle, as well as Link battling for the top 4 positions right now. Grenady and Mutta in P7 and P8 as we're heading to the identity for the first time. Let's actually check in on the perspective of the Australian Penguin, Mutta, as we had a mistake from one of the leaders. It seems as though it was Chalek who made a mistake. I don't really know. But Grenady missing up the Burke slide. Mutta missing up the bus slide as well. Oh, Carl going a bit too much on the inside. Hugo battling with Dark, and it will be Binks actually who will make it through in first place at the exit of that identity. Dark in P2, Dofal P3, and Hugo down to P4. Rozzy up into 5th, Cap 6, Wuzzle and Miquacho P7 and P8 right now. Mutta down in last place, although Mimo Jr. had a slow exit, that will be an easy P13 for him. An easy P15 for him at the present moment. Miquacho currently holding that top 8 needed for safety. Carl behind him will try to catch him back up. He's caught a 10th to him between the next 2 CPs, 2 tenths in the next 2 CPs. Grenady 2.88 seconds down. Link 3.2 seconds down to the top 8 needed for safety. So already maybe some big points losses coming in for this for these players, and we're only halfway through the step. Binks meanwhile holding the lead steadily ahead of Dark. It's Team Exalti in front of Team Auto World right now, and then MTP Esport battling with Team Auto World with Default and Hugo battling for P3. Currently Hugo holding set third place with Rozzy in P5, Cap, Wuzzle, and Miquacho in the top 8. Cap catching back up to Razi. Wozil in P7. As we're heading to the identity from the perspective of the game ward player. Are there any mistakes up front happening? Oh, it seems as though we had him fall from Hugo, and he will be out of the top 8, promoting Carl up into the top 8 in contention for keeping those 16 points. Mi Quattro also battling with Carl, this time for P7. Link is the next one in line to try and catch back up to the top 8. He's 2 seconds down on Mi Quattro, the President of Moon, who holds top 8, but he's currently embroidered the battle of his own with Carl for P7. Meanwhile, Binks ahead, pulls the gap to Dark by around 1 to 2 tenths of left, so it's still not many gains for the Team XLT player, but still holding the lead convincingly of this race with a time of 121.256, being the current fastest lap after 2 laps. Meanwhile, Dark, last week's winner, currently looking to bag those points home, maybe trying to challenge for a win, but he must actually be considerate of the risk that he wants to take if he is to try and achieve that set goal of winning the step. Razi, meanwhile, moving up into P3, so Binks currently leading with Razi in P3. Then we've got, let's see, Grenady down in P10 and Hugo down in P11. So for those of, again, Binks currently looking like a strong contender for making it into the combine and pipping Hugo de Sanva off of his combined spot at the present moment, heading into the identity for the 3rd time with Dark in P2. Following the perspective of the Team Auto World driver. And so far, so good from the leaders. No big mistakes that we've seen so far from the leading duo, as we had a mistake from Razi, who was sitting in P3. He got overtaken, apparently, due to a lack of pace through the final 2 buck slides. He got overtaken by Default and Cap, who are battling for P3. Currently, Cap holding 3rd place, not by much. Binks with the fastest lap again, with the 120.649. Currently still holding a gap of around 6 to 7 tenths of a second from Dark in P2. Wozil in P6, making some good progress. Carl in P7, and Mi Quattro in P8. Meanwhile, Link and Grenady might be the biggest losers out of this particular story. 24 points, maybe 12 points at stake for Grenady, and 10 for Link if they do not manage to catch back up to the top 8. But Link is currently making God's work and managing to get back in contention for that safety spot of 8th position. Mi Quattro just up ahead of him. The Flying Finn potentially under threat from the 4-time Tech World Champion with Team France. As Link catches him 10th by 10th, 100th by 100th, every CP, managing to get him back closer and closer to that top 8 spot needed to keep all those 20 points alive and well. Meanwhile, Dark and Binks still 1 and 2. Dark trying to reel the Team XLT player back in, although it seems to be quite difficult for the Team World player. Managing to reel him back in before the identity, but losing out quite a bit once he actually heads through the bug slide part. And Binks is looking super strong out there, heading into the penultimate lap, into the lead, as we had a mistake apparently from Link, who was in contention for the top 8. He might have overtaken Mi Quattro briefly, but Link is down in P10, 2 seconds down on the top 8 needed for safety, and Grenady moving up to P9 will be the next one to try and catch back up to the Flying Finn. Wozil down to P7 as Cap and Wozil got both overtaken by Carl. Cap, who was in contention for some of the top spots, descended a little bit down. Meanwhile, Razi and Default having a battle of their own for 3rd place at the moment. This is actually pretty interesting to watch. Otherworld's Default, the Belgian driver, currently fighting off against the Croatian driver at the present moment. Razi getting the better of Default in the grass part and pulling a gap of around 1/10 to Default in 4th position. Carl in P5 keeping tabs on that battle for top 3, potentially looking for a mistake, maybe looking for a crack in the armor of these guys to try and slide on through and go through to 2nd place, into 4th or 3rd place. Meanwhile, Dark having a bit of a sluggish landing through there. Binks going super fast through there. He manages to get this so well, so consistently, and he will cross the start-finish line on the start his final lap, leading this race. Dark in P2, Default up into P3, Razi down to P4 as Cap moves down to P7. Wozil and Cap having a battle of their own as well, so it is going to be interesting. Razi dropped the ball quite a bit compared to Default, so the Belgian driver from Team Autoworld is up into P3. Meanwhile, Super Caleb from Team B Genius in P5, reeling in Razi and challenging for P4, heading into the grass part. Carl with more speed than Razi will get into the checkpoint in 4th place, just ahead of the Croatian. Meanwhile, Cap has made another mistake and he's down in P9. So Cap not looking good, and Grenady looking to keep those 24 points alive. He's going to have to fend off the challenge of KWK Esports player to actually get those 24 points in full. Meanwhile, Cap might be losing around 3 points in the affair if he keeps that place. Minus 8 points before counting in the 5 points that he gets for crossing the line in P9. But the battle is not over yet between Grenady and Cap. You can see Cap trying to reel the German in as the leaders are heading towards the identity for the 6th and final time in this race. Checking back in with the perspective of the leader, Binks, there's Binks and Dark. Binks managing to go through safely. Dark managing to go through safely as well. Binks will win the map ahead of Dark. Meanwhile, let's go back into this battle for top 8. It seems as though Miquacho is back into the mix as Cap not able to make it, and Grenady will not get overtaken. So Default 3rd, Carl 4th, then we got Razi, Wozil, Grenady, and Miquacho in P8. Cap will lose 8 points in P9. 10 points lost for Link in P10. Mudda in 11th place. Mimo Jr. 12th place. 13th place for Hugo, 14th place for Dark Wicks. Currently navigating through the identity from this point of view. There you go. Final U-turn. And he moved through into P14. P15 for Bresso and Chalik going through the identity right now to get into P16. And touching a bit of the reactor ring, managing to land on the ground, and will cross the start finish line in last place. Not getting many points on the first two maps, so he doesn't lose many here. Yeah, you do have a good point. So, full Grand Slam for Binks, win and fastest lap, 45 points for him, assuming the lead of the step, 1 point in front of Dark with 44, and 31 points for Grenady in P3, with 27 points for Razi in P4, as we're moving on to map number 4, which is going to be Glacier Hiking by Firestorm, the map with the glider trickster that we the glider tactic that we've seen in both the Open League and the Grand League. But first up in the Grand League with Tween and Evon being some of the masters of that, with Tween eventually winning that map on step 6. So, map 4 out of 6, we are heading to Glacier Hiking by Firestorm. So, for those of you who had not seen the seating and my explanation of this identity, so, here it is. The identity consists of a slalom between these girders in the center on ice, using a reactor, what's supposed to be a reactor boost down, creating downforce and keeping your car on the road. Now, stray too far off to the edge of the too far off from the center, and you will die. You will fall to your doom. But make sure, remind you that this is on ice, so you will be sliding like hell. Although there is a tactic that has been discovered and being used since the very first step, this has been played on step 5 of the Trackmania Grand League, and it is to pitch your car at a 90-degree angle or slightly past it to actually make the game think that you're actually facing the arrow up when you're going over the block, thus turning your downforce creator into a glider and giving you much more grip over the ice part. And then you use the 6 seconds that you are allotted, or slightly less than 6 seconds that you have allotted, to actually get yourself through that slalom as quickly as you can. But make sure that you do not get too close to the center as well, because if you glide over these girders and go over them, you will actually upset the car's balance and the glider's balance, and you will be sent off into space. As you can see, Super Karlouf towards the end of that. So yeah, it will be really, really imperative for these people to actually get that identity pitch perfect. It is indeed super close between P6 and P11 of the Open Grand League. I think I do have a ranking of that goes down to the top 9, but I don't have the time to show it now because we are getting underway with map number 4, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Darkwick's having a bit of a slow start. Whole shot for Miquacho with a 5.991. Miquacho won this map in the seeding, but seeding and challenger matches are quite a different thing indeed, as everybody manages to clear the speed check jump. We need around 250 kilometers an hour to clear it nicely. Hugo and Mud at 1st and 2nd, with Carl in 3rd, Miquacho in P4, Cap and Link in 5th and 6th, Default and Binks in 7th and P8 at the bar at the moment. Heading into the jump towards the grass section, Hugo going for the bit of wide line, and he full stop picks in the hill. What is he doing? And so he's down in last place already. Meanwhile, Mudda, Carl, and Cap 1, 2, 3 with Rozzy, Binks, and Grenady catching back up for that battle for the top positions with Default in P7 and Darkwix in P8. Oh, Darkwix have clipped a little bit on the inside though, so that is currently not looking too good in positions. What happened to... Who was that actually made a mistake? It wasn't Mudda. It was not Binks. It was someone else. I think it was Chalek. Yeah, Chalek making a mistake already. Identity coming up. Rozzy, Binks, and Link. 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Rozzy, the Croatian driver, looking pretty good at the first identity. 104.865 the opening lap. And Binks has fallen down. And it seems as though Grenady has respawned as well. No, Grenady's managed to make it through. Bresso is down as well. Default as well. Hugo de Sama as well. So the man who looks so strong might be in a jeopardy of not potentially making it to the combine, as he's down in P12, currently battling with Bresso for 11th position. Mi4 down in P9, currently keeping tabs on the battle for top 8, going down between Darkwix, Mimo Jr., and Grenady. Grenady currently sitting in P7, Darkwix in P8, so far so good after that first lap. Rozzy, meanwhile, taking the lead of the proceedings on this map with Link in P2 and Dark in P3, Cap in P4, Carl, Grenady, Darkwix, and Mimo Jr. in P8. Mimo Jr. might be leading with this shot of actually scoring a decent step in this one and scoring a decent finish and score some good points in this step. Oh, Mi4 with so much speed though at the jump. He might have overtaken him a little bit briefly there. Meanwhile, Identity from the perspective of Cap, trying to catch back up to Link in P2. Rozzy, 101.538 as the leader after lap number 2. Dark in P4. Cap and Link battle for top 2 at the present moment. It's Dark in P4, I wanted to say, not P2. Carl in P5. Oh, Grenady's down in P10. Grenady not looking good at all. Grenady, Binks, and Hugo are completely out, so that might give free reign for Rozzy to score as many points as he can and try to get back into contention for that combined spot. Rozzy, the tables keep on turning every time for those that are in contention for the last combined spots, which are going to be extremely costly on this final step. Cap moving up into P2, Dark in P3. Oh, Cap with a slow slalom though, sees Dark scooting by him and move through into P2. And actually, Dark has much more speed than Rozzy even, and will try to take on the Croatian for the lead of the race, heading to the Identity for the 3rd time. Muzil moving up to P4 after Link made a mistake, dropped down to P5. Rozzy towards the edge of the road, managing to keep it together. Dark in P2, Cap in P3, Wozil up into P4, and Rozzy still looking good, but Wozil is the fastest man of this race. 101.8182 for Wozil at the present moment. The Game War driver, teammate of Wozil in said team, currently looking strong and looking sharp, as he gets a much better line through that platform part and catches back to within the clutch, into his Cap back to within his clutches, and makes the overtake stick for P3. Rozzy having a really low line of clearance over the barrier of this bump road. Grass to ice, managed perfectly here. Rozzy trying to pull a gap. He pulls it to around 4/10 of a second to Dark in P2. Wozil in P3, glitching a little bit of the ice and sand. Snow and sand at the exit, so he's down in P4 again, but Cap having a sluggish, not having the best slaloms. It isn't exactly his forte to Cap on this one, but actually Dark having a slow exit as well, so he's down potentially to P3 as Wozil challenges him for that 2nd position. Everybody getting the glider in the top 8. Grenady currently sitting in the top 8 after some big mistakes from some of the top runners, and so he might still be in with a shot, retaining those 31 points right now at the very least. Rozzy still holding the lead of the race. Meanwhile, Wozil, after Dark made the mistake, is up into 2nd place. Cap is down to P5. Link up into P4, so positions keep evolving quite a bit. Oh, Link, what happened? He had a clip on the inside, on the platform part, so he's down in P5. Carl will see that happen, and he sees Link get bigger and bigger on his screen, so he will be able to get that motivation to attack him and challenge for 4th position. For 5th position, sorry, Carl is in 6th. Nemo Jr. in P7, then Grenady in P8, 1.5 seconds ahead of Binks in 9th position. Then we got Default in P10. Binks might be the biggest loser of them all, though. Currently at stake, at risk of losing 23 points. Wozil, though, has taken the lead before the Identity from Rozzy, so the Game War player might be the fastest man on track at the moment. He's got one more lap to prove it, but Rozzy with a supreme Identity comes back into the lead in front of Wozil. It is worth noting that Wozell might not, is not going to be in with a shot of being in the combine. The deficit might be a bit too big in the overall standings compared to some of the Kree contenders such as Rozzy, Binks, and Grenady to actually catch back up and get into the combine last minute. So it will be, unfortunately, it will be more for show for Wozell and for proof that he can actually perform, that Wozell will try to get that race win. Final lap, halfway through, Rozzy in second place. Binks falling down further to P12, so it's really looking like the downfall for Binks at the present moment. Grenady in P7, so far 2 out of the 4 contenders for that top 8 spot. Rozzy and Grenady are in the safe butter zone, and meanwhile, Hugo and Binks in 10th and 12th are not looking good at all. Meanwhile, Mutta has completely given up on that map as well. He might be taking it safely here. Mutta is down in P16. Carl will be first total if Carl wins this step and Mutta finishes in P16. Interesting thought, so we'll have to see how Carl does. Meanwhile, Wozell has won the race in front of Rozzy, Dark in P3, Link in P4, Carl in P5, Mimo Jr. P6, Grenady 7, Cap in P8, Dofop will lose 13 points with P9, P10 for Hugo, Binks in P11, Bresso in P12, Darkwix in P13, Miquatro will be finishing in P14 and lose 13 points as well. Chalik will be coming to the identity and cross the finish line in P15. Binks will lose 23 points and lose the lead of this step as a consequence. He might not be in to get himself into the top 8 at the present moment. Oh, Chalik going for the score, going for the Zinedine Zidane move of hitting the top of the checkpoint. Nicely done. And Mutta finishing in P16. Why did I say Zinedine Zidane? Because we had a famous goal in 2006 World Cup versus Italy where Zidane hit the top bar and managed to make the ball go in. So Wozell gets 22 points with the fastest step of the race in the win. Dark retakes the lead of the step with 56 points, 41 points for Rozzy in second place, 40 points for Wozell in P3. And we're done with the first 2 stages, so we're going to have a 6-minute break before the final 2 maps where the full points loss will be incurred at the end of the races if you finish in the bottom 8. So, quick score recap after 4 races and 2 stages down. Dark in first place with 56 points. 15 points ahead of Rozzy with 41 points in second place. 40 points for Wozell just behind Rozzy in P3. Grenady in P4 with 38 points. 35 points for Carl in P5. P6 for Binks with 27 points. 25 points for Link in P7. And P8 for Cap with 19 points. 18 points for Default in P9. P10 for Mimo Jr. with 17 points. 16 points for Miquatro in P11. 12th place for Hugo with 9 points. Then 13th place for Bresso with 7 points. 6 points for Darkwix in 14th place. 5 points for Mutta in P15. And last place for Chalik in P16. Yeah, last place for Chalik with 4 points. So we're going to be heading into the final 2 maps of the season. Of the regular season at the very least, and the final 2 maps of this step, the final stage of the step where full points losses will be incurred for people finishing in the bottom 8, starting with map number 5, which is going to be Snow Step by Link and Tona. This map is characterized by the identity, which you currently see right here, which is a series of jumps from dirt to grass, from grass to dirt and ice to ice. So we're going to be able to actually zoom in a little bit here. So the key here is to get enough speed to jump through the trees, from one side of the road to the other, and make sure to have enough speed into the ice part to actually be able to pitch your car into an ice slide and use the speed of the ice slide to go on the other side of the road and then back through with that final jump towards the other side of the map to get through to cross the start finish line. So map 5 underway. So you see it on the left hand side of your screen. The bottom 8 will lose all of your points. The bottom 8 will lose all their points. Wow, I can't talk. Anyways, race started. Whole shot for Mimo Jr. with the 10.492. Hugo and Binks in the battle for the lead as well. Dofal currently rounding out the field at the present moment, who has not made any mistakes. Currently, as I say that, Dark has made quite a bit of a wonky transition, and so he's down in last place already, managing to clear the jump though. Binks and Hugo to someone first and second. Chalik having a bit of airtime, protracted hang time at the reactor boost part through the dirt. Binks still holding the lead in front of Link and Hugo to someone battling for P2, and we're having still a few mistakes, it seems like. No so big mistakes. Oh, and we had a huge respawn from Chalik, so Chalik will be dead in the water. Meanwhile, Dark in P15 still looking at the back of the cars up front at the present moment. currently sitting in P15, and the battle for the top 8 still raging at the end of lap number 1. Heading into the identity, Binks with Grenady, Link, and Hugo in the top 4 positions. Currently, Super Carlouf sitting in P10 and Rozzy in P9. So the battles are starting to take in right now, with the identity coming up from the perspective of Super Carlouf. First jump nicely negotiated from the top 10. Ice slide, Wozel going for aggressive ice slide, so does Rozzy. Bit of a sluggish exit from Mimo Jr., so he was up front, so he will be down in P11, Carl in P8, Carl in P10, Wozel in P9, and Rozzy currently battling with Moda for that 8th position. Currently Rozzy sitting in P8, Moda up into P7, Binks meanwhile and Grenady in P1 and P2. So Binks trying to catch back up and try to make up the slack after that map 4 where he lost 23 points. He might still be in with a shot of actually getting the Grand Slam of win and fastest lap on this particular map. Grenady in P2, 38 points for him. And Dark has dropped quite far down the order, so Dark might be just done for and will lose all 56 of his points. Yeah, he full stop picks in the jump, so he will be game over for Dark at this moment. Link in P3, then Mi4 P4 currently getting overtaken by Cap and Mudda. So Mi4, oh no, Mudda, that was a wonky landing if I've ever seen one by the Australian. So he will fall back into the fight for top 8. Which Super Carlouf would take gladly, sorry, and move through into 8th position. Moda in P9 still managing to threaten Carl for that 8th position. Hugo in P7 at the moment with Rozzy and Mi4 P6, P5, and Cap in P4. So it's a huge battle for 4th place at the present moment. From 4th to 9th, we're seeing barely 2 tenths between each and every one of these players with Link. Oh, Binks, the leader, has had a slow landing at the exit of that ice jump into the identity. So Binks will be down in P7. Oh, he touches the inside. Wozel up into P8. Mudda in P9. Oh, this is not looking good. It's not looking good for Binks at all. Meanwhile, Grenady is inheriting the lead from that mistake from Binks and has the fastest lap with a 122.084 to his name. Link up into 2nd place, 7 tenths down on the wheel player from Wavy Esports. Then Mi4 in 3rd place. Then we got Cap and Carl battling for P4. Currently, Cap having the advantage over Carl. Then Rozzy up into P6, Wozel in P7, and Mudda up into P8. Currently, Grenady with the lead of the race and the fastest lap would be scoring the full 22 points for the Grand Slam and move up to 60 points and potentially into the lead of the step if everything stays that way. But of course, we're still halfway through lap 3. There's still going to be quite a few ways to go before the end of this race. And of course, the end of the step is not on this map, but on the next map. So there could still be huge shenanigans coming up for all the runners. Meanwhile, Grenady will head into the identity for the 3rd time in the lead. Link and Mi4 in 2nd and 3rd place. Mi4 with a pretty nice landing through there. Ice slide. Mi4 manages to get a good ice slide through there. Link having a bit of a conservative ice slide, allowing Cap with a much aggressive approach to actually go through P3. Link down to P4. Rozzy in P5. Carl in P6. Binks managed to catch back up to P7 in the moment. And Mudda has full stop picked in the wall. So yeah, Binks up into P7 with Hugo in P8. But Wozel in P9 is looking to ruin the day of one of these folks for sure. Meanwhile, Rozzy got overtaken by Carl for P5. So Carl moving a few places up. Meanwhile, Link and Cap, the battle continues, and this time Mi4 makes it a battle for 2nd position, with Mi4 getting reeled in by Link and actually dropping too much and sailing in the air at the exit of that banked part, and so he's down in P4. Carl will be the next one in line to try and get in position. He's currently sitting in P5. Hugo has overtaken Binks for P7, and Wozel has made a mistake, so he will not be of any threat. Dauphin will be the one in line to try and catch back up to Binks, but he's 1.4 seconds down on the French Exalty player, though, so it will be pretty difficult. Grenady, meanwhile, still assuming the lead quite convincingly here with 1.4 seconds of a gap between himself and Link in 2nd position. Link under threat from Cap for 2nd position, with Mi4 and Carl battling for P4 at the present moment with the identity coming up. Nice landing from everyone. Nice ice slide from Grenady, albeit slightly slower than what you would expect to maybe it's faster on camera than you are currently seeing. It feels faster in person than you might be seeing on camera. Anyways, he's 1.3 seconds ahead of 2nd place, which is now Cap, currently holding 2nd place off of Link. Mi4 getting the fastest lap of the race on the previous lap with 121.901, 122.036. The fastest man on track on lap 4 was Grenady, currently still holding the lead, but this time he might be in with now for the Grand Slam of just a regular map win. miQuattro currently holds that fastest lap for P4. He's currently sitting in P4 and tries to catch back up to Link for third place and potentially maybe make it a second place fight with Cap a little bit further ahead. Meanwhile, Binks up into P6. So after being sent to his doom in the early part of the race, Binks managed to get back up into the safe haven of top 8, and currently looks as if he will be able to stay there, as he is quite a bit ahead of the final of the first of the bottom 8. He is in fact 3.1 seconds ahead, 3.5 seconds ahead now of Hugo de Soma, who's got overtaken by Dofalt, who's currently battling with the NTP store driver. Razi sitting in P7, trying to get back up to Binks. There's 7/10 between these two, and there's still quite a few points at stake for these particular ones. So, final lap coming up. It seems the Grenady has got this under control again. Cap in P2, Link in P3, Carl overtaking miQuattro for P4, and Binks in P5, Razi in P6. miQuattro have made a mistake. He's respawning the identity, in fact, and he will be dropping out of the top 8, promoting both Hugo and Dofalt into the top 8 as a consequence of that. Grenady getting reeled in by Cap. Although the gap seems to be oscillating quite a bit up and down. 21.625 for Binks on lap number 5 nets him the fastest lap of the race. We've seen 3 different fastest lap makers so far in this race. Will there be a 4th one at the end of it? We're gonna have to see at the finish line how this turns out. Meanwhile, Grenady and Cap, the gap widens to 1.4 seconds. Meanwhile, it's Link and Cap for the battle for P2 at the present moment. Currently, Cap having the advantage over Link. Link having a bit of a sluggish landing through there. Maybe not as smooth of a landing as Cap. Cap still holding P2, but Link coming back out of the dirt. Not quite enough speed to make it. Carl moving up to P4. Binks in P5. Razi 6. Hugo and Dofalt in 7th and 8th. Look like they're pretty safe. Identity coming up for the leaders. Grenady currently sitting in the lead quite comfortably. 1.5 seconds ahead of Cap, heading into the first set of jumps. Onto the ice jump now, on the ice slide. Oh, Grenady touches! Cap will see through to the lead and win the map! After that mistake from Grenady, Carl in 2nd place, Link in 3rd, Binks in 4th, Grenady in P5. After that stupid mistake from the German, Razi 6th, Hugo 7th, and Dofalt in P8. Wozel will lose 40 points, Bressa will lose 7 points, Moda will lose 5 points, 16 points will be lost for miQuattro. Nemo Jr. will lose 17 points. Dark will lose 56 and lose the lead of this step. 4 points will be lost for Chalik, and 6 points will be lost for Darkwix, and will be replaced by a single point to his name. So, after that drama, that unnecessary wall contact for Grenady throws the win away, and Carl and Razi are tied in points for the lead. Grenady down to now in 3rd place with 47 points, and tied in points we find Cap and Binks in 4th and 5th, as we're going to be heading into the final map of the step and the final map of the regular season of the Open Grand League, and it is going to be Semiramis by Table and Firestorm. For those of you that were not there during the seeding phase where I explained the identity, it is consisting of a series of jumps, most important of which are these 3 jumps right here. 1, 2, 3, and you need to actually watch your speed, watch your angle, and be watching your input times, where you have to actually be able to release a little bit if you actually want to release a little bit and time your release so that you don't fly off the circuit when you land, or you don't fall too short and fall beside the road. So you got 1 jump towards the left, 1 jump towards the right, 1 jump towards the left, and then you got this jump onto the grass part. Make sure to land pretty low on that one to avoid going too high and touching the CP maybe, or flipping with the CP. And then the final jump where you need around 260 to 270 kilometers an hour to clear, going through the ring, and then land smoothly on the other side of the jump onto this slope. As you can see, players currently navigating the platform section preceding the identity. Now you can see people going for a pretty early landing already, pretty early landing all around, and sometimes it will pay off and sometimes it will be pretty excruciating, with some people unfortunately clipping the inside of the wall and the road and dropping out of contention. So Razi and Carl tied in points for the lead of the step with 49 points each. 47 points for Grenady in P3. Then Binks and Cap, 39 points for them in P4 and P5. 37 for Link in P6. 24 for Dofalt in P7 and 16 in P8. So 12 points between 1st and 6th. This is going to be interesting to follow. Final map underway. Here we go. Small snake section before the first checkpoint. Whole shot for Grenady with a 7.002. Onto the dirt part they go. Cap, Wozzel, and Grenady. 1, 2, 3 into that checkpoint. It still looks like everything is to play for after the first few checkpoints. Darkwick's gonna get left behind at the present moment, but still remaining in contact with the leading group. Wozzel, Grenady, Hugo, 1, 2, 3, as you can see from the checkpoint. Now to drop down to the platform part. Make sure to negotiate this one nicely. Oh, Miquacho is out of it. He's completely faltered his game over for Miquacho. Meanwhile, Binks and Hugo battling for the lead in 1st and 2nd. Then Carl in P3 battling with Moda as well, who's reached that gap and tries to take the lead. The Australian not managing to make it all that well, though. So he's currently in the midfield. In the middle of the top field, sorry. Currently sitting in P4. Hugo, Link, Grenady, and Wozzel in P7 and P8. Oh no, Wozzel has made a mistake and had to go for the safe way around there. And so he dropped down quite a few places. Identity coming up. Everybody in the top 5 manages to land nice and smoothly through here. Oh, Carl with a really risky approach through there. Dark and Binks in 1st and 2nd. Link in 3rd. Omada in 4th. And Hugo in P5. And Dark leads the race with a 112.058. Binks in P2, Hugo in P3, Mudda in P4, and the battles are still really strong between the top 8. 8/10 between 1st and 8th at the present moment, and then a bit of a gap to Cap in P9. 4/10 of a second between the gap between Cap and Wozzel, and Grenady is dead. Grenady is 2.3 seconds down on the top 8 needed for safety after the identity, so maybe Grenady might not be able to make it into the combine. Meanwhile, Hugo takes the lead and tries to pull away from Binks, his main contender in this battle for the final top 8 spot. Link is in P3, trying to watch over that battle. Dark and Mudda battling for P4. Carl in P6, also battling for P4 in the present moment with Mudda and Dark. Razi in P7, Dofalt in P8, although Dofalt is potentially seeing Cap reeling him in slowly but surely. And it's looking pretty strong so far from Cap, currently reeling Dofalt slowly but surely. Bringing the gap to around 3/10 of a second after lap 2. Hugo gets the fastest lap of the race so far with a 107.971 to his name. Binks in P2, Link in P3, the 2 Exalted players running in formation at the present moment with Mudda in P4. Carl moving past Dark for P5, but the battle is not over yet between these two. Grenady is trying to bridge the gap to the top 8. He's down to 2 seconds down on Dofalt, currently holding that top 8 spot, and he's battling with Wozzel and Chalik to gain a couple spots. Mimio Jr. just a bit further up the road ahead of him. Chalik and Grenady battling for P11 with Wozzel making it a 3-way fight for P11. Mimo Jr. in P10, getting milled in slightly by that three-man group at the present moment. Let's actually check in Mudda, having moved up into P3, although Link is trying to catch back up to him. And Grenady moving up to P11. Maybe there's a move to P10 on the cards for Mimo Jr. For Grenady. Link having a sluggish landing at the exit of the final jump. He's down in P4. Dark in P5. Carl in P6. Razi and Dofalt in 7th and 8th. And Dofalt under threat from Cap. Cap has made the gap up to Dofalt, and he makes the move stick for P8. Dofalt at risk of losing 24 points. Cap looking to keep 39 points. Hugo still the fastest lap with a 107.971. Meanwhile, Grenady has made another mistake. He's 6 seconds down with less than 3 laps to go. It looks pretty grim for the wheel player from Team Wavy Esport. It might look like we might not be ready to see a wheel player into the combine just yet, unless some shenanigans happen. Wozzel is down in P13. Wozzel not with much to lose, but the battle for top 8 is looking pretty hot between Dofalt and Cap. Cap has got the most to lose out of these two, with 39 points on the line for the KWK Esport driver. Meanwhile, Dofalt in P8 has only had 24 points, but then a little bit further up the road, you can see Razi only 6/10 ahead of Dofalt. So this could be a 3-way fight for the final points, saving spots, which could really be costly. Meanwhile, Hugo has made a mistake, rendering that battle moot and promoting Cap into the top 8, making the biggest point scorers currently in the top 8, except from Grenady, who's down in P13 with 47 points. Meanwhile, Binks is taking the lead following the mistake from Hugo. Mudda assuming second place, and Carl in P3. Mudda looking like he wants to keep that seed 1 after all, and will be trying to deny the step win and the league ranking from Super Carlo Link, overtaking Carl for P3, not managing to make the move stick before the drop down into this transfer port. Mudda taking the lead from Binks after that set transfer port. Coming up towards the identity, coming up in 10 seconds. Carl moving on to P2 after Binks dropped quite a bit of speed in that preceding section. Dark and Link are the next one in line to take the places away from Binks here. Binks still looking to be in P3 at the present moment, although Dark is pressuring him and making the battle for P3 really intense, and potentially a 4-way fight for the lead as Carl and Mudda are battling for the lead of the race, heading into the final lap. Hugo still in the fastest lap of the race, although he is down in P14, so that will be putting pay to any chance of him staying in the top 8 overall in the combine at the present moment. 108.761 for Super Carlo in P2. Mudda still in the lead with Binks and Carl battling for P2 at the present moment. Dark making it a 3-way fight for P2. Link watching over that said battle. Rozzy in P6. There's a 10-point gap between Binks and Rozzy. Will that be enough for Binks to make it through? Binks is down in P4. This is a 4-way fight for the lead. You see right here, you can see Mudda getting overwhelmed quite a bit by Binks, Carl, and Dark. And Carl assuming the race lead at the present moment. Oh my god, Dark, Carl, and Binks, a huge battle between them for the lead. It's gonna be who cracks first. Oh, Binks! No, he respawns! Binks is dead! Binks is dead! Carl will win the race ahead of Dark. Mudda in P3, Link in P4, Dofalt in P5, Rozzy, Cap C6, Rozzy P7. Grenady will finish in the top 8 after all that. Wuzil P9, Bresel P10, Mimo Jr. 11, Chalik P12, Hugo will finish in P13. Binks has faltered again! He's hit the CP! Hugo down in P13. Binks touching the ring. And Binks will finish in P14, losing all his points. P15 for Darkwix and P16 for Mi Quattro. And so, Binks, Hugo will be out of the running for those top 8 spots. Grenady, I don't know if he got into the combine. I'm gonna have to see how this goes on the overall ranking. But yeah, Carl will win the step with 69 nice points. 56 points for Rozzy in P2 and 53 for Grenady in P3. And so these are your points winners for the top 8. Carl wins 10,000 points. 98.65 for Rozzy in second place. 97.35 for Grenady in P3. 9,600 for Cap and Link in 4th and 5th. They've ended up tied on points. Dofalt in P6 will get 93.35, 9,200 points for Dark in P7, and Mudda 90.65 for P8, and so thus he will stay your leader and will win the overall season of the Grand League. For this fall season, Mudda gets the win overall with 58,000 points collected. Super Carlo finishes in second place with 57,065 points. Cap and Link, 3rd and 4th, tied for points, make it into the combine. Then P5 for Dark with 55,465. Then Dofalt in P6 with 54,800. Then 7th place for Chalik, managing to keep his place alive with 54,405. And Grenady, the wheel player from Wavy Esports from Germany, will get his chance to get into the Trackmania Grand League. He gets into the combine with a score of 54,275.